Welcome to AskACop.live, the podcast for real conversations on law enforcement and community engagement. Join your hosts, Veteran Officer Daryl Triplett and co-host Jessica Rivera, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Get ready for candid discussions, expert insights, and audience questions that bridge the gap between the badge and the community. Tune in as we tackle important issues, share powerful stories, and connect with listeners like you. AskACop.live, where every voice matters.
And hello, everyone. We are back with another episode of Ask a Cop with your favorite boy, Daryl Triplett, and my co-host, Jessica. Can you hear us?
Be my end, but yes, I can hear you, and yes, I'm excited for another Ask a Cop show.
Yeah, man, it's been a crazy week, and this week's topic, it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's going to be a difficult conversation, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. Okay. And when I say that it needs to be had, folks. We're going to talk about some very, very, very up-to-date information that is going on right now. And, we had it originally slated to talk about traffic stops and surviving traffic stops when it comes to interactions with law enforcement and things of that nature. And it was a great topic. I love the topic and everything. But one of the things that I really, really, really wanted to jump into is, how do we act on traffic stops? How do we interact with officers on traffic stops? Because traffic stops are so frequent and often every single day officers do them, and they're encountering me, you, our youth, our children, all that other good stuff. And we had an incident that we're going to jump into today that is related to the traffic stop scenario, but something that just happened. But before that, I want to talk, Jessica, a little bit. So your week's been good and everything, right? Or no? What's going on with you? What's going on your way? Jessica, can you hear me?
No.
Oh, we have no audio. Jessica's having some technical difficulties over there, folks. That's okay. I want you guys to go on and relax, and get your favorite drink, get your favorite beverage, or whatever it is that you do. And I want you guys to sit back and just relax and enjoy the show, because you got me and Jessica for a whole hour. So just sit back and enjoy the show, folks. But this topic today that we're going to do, let's see here. Yeah, they're working on it desperately behind the scenes. Oh, look at that. She's back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think it might be a little better. I can. Yes, you're not.
Yes, it's a lot better now.
I apologize. Okay.
No,
yes.
fine.
So go ahead with what you were saying. I know we're talking about how to properly interact with police because it is such an important topic. A lot of people don't seem to know how to properly interact and how to kind of make the best of the situation that nobody wants to be in. But
no, nobody likes getting stopped by the police, but unfortunately it happens every single day for various different types of reasons. And one of the reasons we're going into today is when things go wrong on traffic stops. And we're going to discuss a little bit how to avoid that, but we are going to jump into when things go wrong also. But like I said, before we get into all of that, I'm glad you had a good week. I'm glad your week's going good. It's almost over. We made it over Hump Day Wednesday. We're going to take our first commercial break. I want to pay some bills real quick. I want you guys to sit back, relax, enjoy the show, grab your loved ones, grab your kids, put them in front of the TV, and enjoy the show. We put this show on for you guys so that you guys know from a cop's perspective, from a journalistic media perspective of what they see through their eyes, how to interact with the police. So we'll be back right after this quick commercial break. So grab your drink, grab your sticks or whatever you're going to do, and we're going to be right back.
With over 50 years of experience and a perfected 100% American-made manufacturing process, Tallman Pools sets the standard for excellence in fiberglass pools, spas, and tanning ledges. That's right, our pools aren't just pools, they're works of art. Meticulously crafted to bring beauty, relaxation, and endless enjoyment to your backyard. And when it comes to quality, Tallman Pools doesn't cut corners. Ready to take the plunge? Contact Tallman Pools today at 770-478-2257 or shoot us an email at contactus@tallmanpools.com. Visit us at 8993 Tara Boulevard, Jonesboro, Georgia 30236. Tallman Pools, where luxury meets craftsmanship.
Okay, and folks, we are back at the Ask a Cop show. Got a hot topic for you today, very hot and relatable topic for a lot of people. A lot of people are pissed off this week about what has happened in Cincinnati, Ohio, relating to a traffic stop or a stolen car pursuit that went horribly wrong. But we're going to jump into it a little bit. We're going to jump into it a little bit. And like I said, these are, Jessica, these are not the most comfortable conversations to have with our people.
No, they're not. And you won't probably see these conversations being had, especially in a live setting like this. Because a lot of people are very afraid of being canceled or things being taken out of context or it, coming across the wrong way. But we are going to do our best to cover it the way we know best. And we'll just, I know that we both are very, of sound mind and sound judgment. And we kind of try to look at both sides of the situation and really truly give our honest feedback as to how we feel and what our thoughts are from, like you said, a police perspective, and then me from media journalistic perspective.
Mm-hmm. These are truly one of these situations to where, thank God it doesn't happen every day, but when it happens, it's freaking horrible for all sides, not just, the police side, because they had to take a life of a young man, but from his family side also. It's very difficult to get through things like this, but we have to remember that we are one as a community, and we have to obey by law and order. One thing I've always said, you can't be strong and wrong. You can be strong if you're right, but you can't be strong and wrong. And one of the things that we're going to get into with this thing is, about traffic stops and high risk stops is what we should have named it. And when they go wrong, they go wrong. Before, I just hate that this situation happened. I really hate that this situation happened. I really hate that, the kid was, a young adult, and God knows we have enough problems in this country already, from border issues to economic issues to political issues and stuff like that. And then to throw this on top of it, it's a sad situation for everyone involved. And, one of the officers was, directly, and we're about to go to pay tribute to the officer who was ultimately killed as a result of this. And many of you know the story that we're talking about. I want to pull it up so that I'm giving you accurate information here. But it's the story of Rodney Hinton. He was charged with aggravated murder in the death of Deputy Larry Henderson in Cincinnati, Ohio. Police said Hinton left a meeting at Cincinnati Police Department last Friday after viewing body cam footage of an officer shooting and killing his son, Ryan Hinton, and then ran over Henderson, who was directing traffic. Hilton's lawyer claims that he was mentally ill when he done this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 10 kids of my own. And Jessica, you have kids also.
I have one. Yes. Not 10, but one.
Ooh, that was a gut punch right there.
No. Okay. I mean, I would have had a lot more, but yeah, it is a very sad situation as a parent because yes, however you feel about the situation in regards to his actions, you do have to put yourself in his shoes and realize the situation he had just seen does not make it right the way he responded to it. But I would never want to be in those shoes to ever have to go through something like that and to ever know what he actually would feel, because you can only imagine the pain. And at that point, he obviously wanted vengeance. He wanted to kind of make somebody pay for what he had just seen and for his son's life.
Yeah. And the thing is that I'm a police officer, I'm a father, I'm a man. And if something like that was to happen to one of my sons, and he was out doing stupid stuff like this boy was doing, I mean, he's in a stolen car, him and his friends, they got stolen guns, they're supposed to be in school for what I understand, and running from the police, all this other stupid stuff. Mm-hmm. And it ended up horrible for this kid. And to be a father, and if that was my son, and I can only tell you, I've had a couple of kids who's been in a little bit of trouble. Nothing that major or anything like that, but they've been in a little bit of trouble. And if something like that, heaven forbid, knock on wood, would have ever happened, I would be devastated as a father. Look me in my eyes and know I would be devastated as a father. I would be furious as a father. Furious. But I would be furious with my son. Mm-hmm. I'd be furious with my son. Because how dare you put us in this situation? And every action has a reaction. And this is what I'm telling you, a community of all. This isn't just black, white, Spanish, whatever, a community of all. We've got to do better. Listen, I've said it once, I've said it twice, I say it 1,000,000 times. If the police is wrong, if they shoot an unarmed kid, unarmed black kid, unarmed white kid, Spanish kid, anything like that, if the police is wrong, then they need to be hung out to dry and put in prison for the rest of their lives. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000,000 times. But if the police is not wrong, and they're doing their job, and they're doing their job correctly, then we have to get by them. Because either you want a system of law and order, or you don't. It is so imperative that I look in this camera and tell each person who watches this video, no matter what your color, your background, your anything like that, we all have woe stories that we can tell. Jessica, you got a woe story. I've got a woe story. Everybody's got a woe story that they can tell. That does not give you the right to go out here, stealing people's cars, walking around toting guns all over the place with extended magazines that's stolen, another stolen gun in the car, running from the police where you could have killed God only knows who, and acting a fool. So we've got to stay focused on what the real is and not listen to the hype. I am sorry that this kid is dead.
Yeah.
I am sorry. My heart goes out to his family, not the father, to his family, that they lost their child. But you got to understand something. Your child is off the hook. Your child is out here doing things that he don't need to be doing. And if it was my child, as upset as I would be, I would have to direct my anger to my child.
Yeah. And I think we just had a question come up on the side. Tabalo says, let's say, what if your best friend is the dad of that child? In that case, what will you do? Because the reason I ask this is that some officers like to be covering themselves. I understand feelings. This is what my say would be. I understand feelings, obviously. You can understand why people react the way they do, but it doesn't make an excuse, and wrong is still wrong, right is still right. It doesn't mean that you can't understand or empathize or be sympathetic to the person's plight, right? We're human. We should all have those feelings. Some people won't, but the majority of us will, because the majority of us are able to empathize with other people and in their situations. But it still does not make the situation any less wrong.
Well, not only does it not make it any less wrong, your actions and the media that's sort of blowing us up. But I will say the media is giving fair coverage, because the media did say the truth. They were at the press conference with the chief. They said that the kid had a gun, the kid was armed, the kid made a gesture to point the gun at the officer opened fire behind the dumpster, all this other good stuff. So I can appreciate the media telling the facts. It's the facts of the case. Body cam footage is not lying, all this other good stuff, right? But what is even more sinister to me is we've already lost one life. Now for the father of this kid, who's off the chart, by the way, let's just keep that in the forefront of our mind, because we got to tell the truth. If we ever expect to go further to when we are, folks, we got to tell the truth. We got to see things with our eyes wide open, right? We can't just look at it because it's a white officer who did the shooting to say, oh, he's automatically racist and all this other stuff. No. You ain't getting by with that one. Okay? If that's what it is, trust me, me and Jessica will call it. That's what we do, right? But if it ain't that, it ain't that. And we can't make it something that it's not. And we're not going to make it something that it's not. This kid was armed with a fully loaded 9mm handgun with an extended clip in a stolen car, running from the police. What do you expect is going to happen? Yeah. So, yes, my prayers go for this kid. My prayers go out for the family. But you got to think also, you're going to get what you deserve. You play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. And the kid's off the chart. I know he's off the chart because the daddy's off the chart. Now,
yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, because
it's from the reaction, obviously it was a very extreme reaction. He ended up taking a police officer's life over this. And it's just, I think this is the problem that we're facing in general in America today. I think so many adults are emotionally irresponsible, emotionally immature, and they haven't really done the introspective work that they need. And so they have passed this on to their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this is what the kids have seen their whole life. Instead of actually taking responsibility. There are so many kids nowadays, and I was just talking to one of my coworkers the other day about this. When I didn't get in trouble very much in school, but if there was an issue that arose, the first thing my parents would say is, what was your action in this whole situation. They would always bring it to me first. And it used to frustrate me so much because I used to be like, why are they always, about me? It's, I'm telling them something about somebody else or something else that happened, because they always were saying, they would always end with the situation of, you are responsible for your actions in any situation, whether you're hanging out with the wrong people, whether you allow somebody to talk to you the way they do. You have a lot more power in the situation than you think, and you have to really think about that first, and then you can start realizing that, okay, maybe the surrounding wasn't the greatest, maybe I could have removed myself from the situation. You rethink it.
Mhm.
Whereas nowadays, I feel as if an issue comes up with kids, the parents never question the kid, ever. And it's always about, the kids being picked on. They're being bullied.
Right.
They're, somebody doesn't like them. A teacher doesn't like them. They have it in for them. And it's rather disturbing, because it's no wonder that these kids take no responsibility for the majority of their actions, and everybody else around them pays the consequences.
Yep. And that's what you see right here. Everyone that is affected by this kid is paying the consequences, and everybody is paying the consequences for the dad's actions also. So before we got into our fallen officers down and given a moment of silence for our fallen officers, we wanted to address that issue first, because one of the fallen officers that we're going to pay tribute to, and we will pay tribute to, is in this lineup here. He's a deputy sheriff out of Ohio. We'll have now 1 minute of silence for our fallen brothers and sisters. Okay, and we are back for giving 1 moment of silence for our fallen brothers and sisters.
And I see there's a question that had come up during that moment of silence, I think from Bob Can, saying, sorry for asking, what action does the child's parents take? I think this person might be asking, what was the retaliation taken? If that's the question that you're asking, what we're talking about is, after seeing the video of his son being shot by police, seeing the camera, the footage, yes, the father went out and killed an innocent police officer. And so as vengeance, as revenge, for his son's death.
What actions does the child's parents take? So you got to understand something. I tell my kids, I have 10 of them, you can't be wrong and strong, right? So you can't be wrong. You can't be out here doing crime, carrying guns, being a thug, being this, being that. And then when you get dealt with by the police, want to revert back to baby stage. So if you're asking me what the parent does in a situation like this, there's really nothing that you can do, because the damage is already done. Your child already did damage. Your child is the one that got in the stolen car. Your child is the one who stole the car. Your child is the one who had the stolen gun. Your child is the one who ran from the police. Your child is the one who had other stolen guns in the car and hanging out with homeboys and stuff like that. So really, the question is, yeah, I get it. What can a parent do? The answer is certainly not to take your car and drive into a police officer who had nothing to do with the situation.
Yeah.
We can't be that stupid to think that. We can't be. I refuse to believe that.
And what's even harder, I think, in this situation is the coverage that I've seen, is that people, like I said, we can all as parents understand his anger, his frustration,
Absolutely.
everything that he must have felt after seeing that video. But the amount of people who have come to his to support him as if it was an okay move to make, as if it was a sane move to make. But this is what our society has come to. It's almost insanity is okay. And it's just accepted as normal behavior. Well, what would you do? What would you do? Well, the normal average person who can really think and, like you were saying, really reflect on how did we get into this position, from the kid actually like starting the snowball effect and it ending with his life ending, him being killed. Instead of looking at that, it's automatically, who can I blame?
Right.
Who is to blame for this?
Yep.
And it's a really, really sad situation to be in, because the majority of people, it's sad, but I feel more people than we would like to believe actually think that this was an okay and justified thing for the father to do.
Well, I'm going to tell you why they think it's okay. Because one thing about it, when the police do something erroneous, something bad, like they shoot an unarmed black man or a white guy or something like that, the public is so infuriated, and it should be. And I think that people are so infuriated with the fact of this, what the media is spinning it as, a kid, quote unquote, and there's, show this little, nice picture of this kid being shot by the police, right? And then in people's mind, they're thinking this little sweet middle schooler or a little high schooler who's got his whole life ahead of him, and his life was ended early by the police. Again, here we go again. Well, that's not the case. It's not the case. See, every situation, I've always said, we've got to be smart enough to judge every case on their own merit. Now, I do believe that I read the comments in these things, right? And there were a lot of comments that was saying, and this is from people of color, white people, Spanish people, stuff like that, that the police did nothing wrong. He was doing his job, right? Because people are sick and tired of being victimized. People are sick and tired of working hard every day in the economy that we have, and you come outside from your job and your dang on car is gone. Now, how am I supposed to get to work? How am I supposed to feed my family?
And what's interesting about that, Daryl, is they'll say that it's a victimless crime, correct? Because it's not, it isn't I guess they don't define it as something as extreme as a rape or a beating or something of that nature, right? It wasn't a physical contact crime. But I'm sorry. Yes, a car is a thing, but it's sometimes, it's for people's livelihoods. And most of the time people never get these cars back, or if they do, they have to foot the bill for it.
Yep.
And who has that kind of money in this economy, or whoever wants to spend that kind of money because of somebody else's doings? Right. And so whenever they say a victimless crime, it always interests me, because if it's a crime, it's a crime. Somebody is paying for that. Somebody has been, it has affected somebody negatively in some way.
Yeah. And, the thing is that we were just, and I don't want to say lucky, but I'm going to say lucky. We were just lucky that when they were running from the cops, that they didn't go through an intersection and kill a mother of 5 coming home from work. It happens all the
Yeah,
time.
and that is luck. That's luck.
You know what I'm saying? So we gotta walk in this situation with our eyes wide open. The boy was wrong. The boy was wrong, and I'm sorry he's dead. I'm sorry he's dead. But that does not give you the right to go run your car into a cop or anybody. He had nothing to do with this. This guy's just going about his day, you know, saving for Christmas money like the rest of us working a part-time job. And some people will say, well, he got it for the bad ones and this and that and all that other good stuff. That's a bunch of horse crap. That's a bunch of horse crap. Because if we have that mentality, every time there's a drive-by and a black baby gets shot in the back of their mother's car when they go into a convenience store and the baby's back there eating ice cream and catch a bullet to the back of the head, we don't say that then.
Yeah.
So miss me with all that other stuff. Right is right and wrong is wrong. If you're wrong, you're just wrong. I'm sorry about it, you're wrong. If you're right and the police is wrong, then they're just wrong. And I'll be the first one to say he needs to go to jail. I've said it on several occasions, on several other different situations. His behind need to be behind bars, period, point blank. And I still stand by them today. So we're going to get into the, I don't know what our producers have first. I think we have the video of the emotional outcry of him at, Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr. at court. So let's watch a little bit of this video and we'll get into it.
Chaos at court as a man accused of killing a sheriff's deputy a day after his son was shot by a police officer asked to be released on bail. I lay out the horrific chain of events out of Ohio and where the case could be heading.
Are you familiar with acts of someone that is not in their right mind when they commit a criminal act?
I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Before I get into this case out of Ohio, I want to talk a little bit about true crime news and law and crime merch. The Law and Crime Docket is your one-stop shop for trending stories, thrilling body cams, and an exclusive look at brand new shows. See here, or Tired, as a Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy last December. He was still working, though, occasionally for that sheriff's office in Cincinnati doing special details. Last Friday, he was doing that, directing traffic for graduation at the University of Cincinnati when police say a man named Rodney Hinton Jr. deliberately drove his vehicle into Henderson at this intersection. Deputy Henderson was rushed to the local trauma center, but there was nothing that could be done to save him. Within hours, he passed away from these devastating injuries. You're probably asking yourself, why would anybody deliberately drive a vehicle into somebody, much less a sheriff's deputy who was directing traffic at a college graduation? Well, police say Rodney Hinton Jr. did this on purpose, possibly to avenge the death of his son, Ryan Hinton. Ryan Hinton was 18 years old, and a day earlier, a Cincinnati police officer shot and killed him after encountering him and some others in a car that had been reported stolen out of Kentucky. Here's the police chief.
Officers across the country confront dangerous situations.
Now, one thing I want to interject here real quick is that what you will see, and this is why I'm saying that police legitimacy, the transparency of the police has to come to this, because if not, you'll have people rioting and stuff like that. Within 24 hours, Cincinnati, like most departments, have a policy to release the body cam footage. Now, you know, some people are, in theory, they altered the body cam footage. He never really had a gun, this and that, this and that, this and that. Everybody's not lying. Okay, everybody's not lying. All right. So what she's about to do is break down in detail to you the facts of
every day,
what's going on. Go ahead.
Sometimes more than once a day. They are often compelled to make split-second decisions to protect others and themselves when faced with immediate threat. Everyone involved see vehicles there now. you'll see a photo. The stolen car that we're going to talk about was backed into a parking spot back there. As you can see, this is a stolen Kia. It was stolen out of northern Kentucky yesterday. You can see we have two uniformed cars there. Prior to those uniformed cars arriving, we had two undercover cars that pulled into that dead end, saw the vehicle. They backed out. They saw that there were individuals inside the vehicle, so they backed out and let the uniformed cars make the approach, which is the tactically sound decision to do.
Stop for a second. Let me explain to you why the reason why they did this. And we'll stop this video as we're explaining this, guys. So the reason why we do that is because we don't want, so we know that vehicle is stolen. What you don't want is the occupants of that vehicle to say, oh, I thought you were pulling up to rob me, so I started firing. So that's the reason why we have a marked uniform patrol car make initial contact first.
The cars are positioned the way the officers are trained. We are trained to use our vehicles as cover from any threat. That's what those officers did with the cars at that time.
Chief Thigi then played a short portion of the body camera footage.
This is body-worn camera from officer number 2. Go ahead, Bobby.
He's got a gun! He's got a gun! On your right! On your right!
This is the body camera footage from the officer who actually shot Ryan Hinton.
This is the other officer, the one who fires the shot. This is his body camera as he approaches the scene. This is the firearm that was recovered at the scene after the individual was shot. This is what he had in his hand while the officers were chasing him. It's just a photo of it here at Criminalistics.
Stop it a second, please. Okay, when I first seen this, Jessica, they called me up and said, one of my friends called me up and said, police done did it again. They shot and killed another unarmed black boy, young boy this time, in Cincinnati, Ohio. I can't believe it. How can you do that show? How can you do this? How can you still do this? I said, well, hold on. That's horrible if that's what happened. That's freaking horrible. Let me just do my own research. I'll call you back. Then I found this clip and I sent them this clip here, right? Jessica, you with us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. In shock and all, right? So I will say this, folks. Let's gather the facts first. I'm not saying let's not be angry if that's what it warrants. I'm angry that this kid lost his life, but I'm angry at the kid, right? I'm not angry at the police who's doing what they're supposed to do to combat crime in the city that's already full of crime. I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at the kid for making stupid decisions. And his parents have to teach our kids to stop it.
Absolutely. And, I do understand that at this age, I guess he was newly 18, right? And we all know kids at 18 nowadays, or young adults at this age, aren't really that mature, right? We understand that. And that's why we call them kids. But ultimately, this young man was 18 years old. He wasn't 15. He wasn't 16. He wasn't in junior high. He wasn't in elementary school. He knew better than to be in this situation. This wasn't some sort of a mistake. It wasn't some sort of accident that he just so happenstance to be holding a firearm around police officers in a stolen car with friends or with his, buddies, whatever it was. So you have to add it all together. So when they say an unarmed kid, it's not really the honest truth. He's a young adult. He should know this. I mean, at this age, even a junior high kid should know right and wrong, but definitely at 18, you should know that this is not the correct thing to be doing.
And if you notice, he's got, although it doesn't make a difference to me, because all of it can still kill you. But notice, he's got an extended clip on this gun. So you're already thinking that I'm going to spray up the place and I need more bullets to do. Things like that, just little things like that gives me pause to think that this kid ain't as innocent as we're trying to make it out to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's save our rioting. Let's save all of the crap talking to the police for another situation if it ever happens again. This ain't it. This ain't it. He just got caught by the police doing criminal activity. And when you get caught by the police doing criminal activity and you have a gun, you're liable to get shot. Because guess what? That's what I tell my kids. And I got 10 of them that look like him. What am I? I'm not identifying with my heritage neither. No, it has nothing to do with that. The kid made a mistake, and unfortunately for him, he paid the ultimate sacrifice. And if his kid is anything like his daddy, I see where the kid get it from.
Yeah.
I said I wasn't going to say it, but I said it anyway.
No, and I think a lot of people have drawn that conclusion, especially by the extreme actions taken by the father, killing somebody, not just going out and injuring somebody, which would have been horrible too, but actually going as far as killing somebody that had nothing to even do with this, had no clue what was going on, an innocent person who was completely doing something completely different. So all around, it's a bad situation, but you can kind of understand that if this was partially the example that this kid saw growing up in his 18 years, it is kind of not very hard to see why and how it ended this way. And it's very sad to say. I would say that if it happened to anybody of any color, it's just, it is what it is. The facts are the facts. And it's only fair to, like you said, this is not the situation, like the hill to die on. This isn't it. Do it for children, innocent babies, like you were saying, that are caught in the crossfires, those situations. Then you can understand a little more empathy and maybe get more upset. But even in those situations, I don't see them in the media, or I don't see people as upset, except in these situations. And it baffles me. It completely baffles me, but it happens.
Well, because people are automatically assuming that it's a cover-up, that the police is wrong, that the chief is getting on there just spilling BS or whatever. And what she's doing is she's being transparent, like everybody wants. I want that. I want the police department to be transparent. You want that. You want your police department to be transparent, because this is what I've always said. I've covered things on Fox 5 News, 11, Channel 2 here in Georgia, all over, News Nation. And I've always said, you want riots? You want people tearing up your streets? You want people saying F the police? They're already saying that. But you want people to go crazy and lose their mind? Don't be transparent with them. Because people can understand that bad things happen in this world. But to get doubly screwed over when they think that your police department is not being transparent and covering things up, that's bringing on a whole other burning rage on the inside. And that's what causes your riots and stuff like that. So you have to get these videos out as soon as possible. Good or bad for the officer. If there was no gun that was recovered at the scene and this officer just thought he had a gun and fired, that's got to be the truth, and that's got to come out. And it's got to be dealt with that way, right? If the kid did have a gun, then the kid had a gun. So I got one question for all you naysayers out there. And I asked my kids this the other time, the other day when we seen this thing. I said, let me ask you something, boys. I said, There's 4 teenagers in the car, in a stolen car with guns, stolen guns, running from the police, right? Up and down the street, just acting a fool, right? Let me ask you a question. Just one simple little question. There was 4 kids that bailed out of the car. There was only 1 kid who got shot and killed. Now, why do you think that is? Because there was only 1 kid who took a gun and pointed it at the police. They made 3 other arrests without incident.
Yeah, and I think those kids, they were in the vehicle that was stolen, and there was weapons in there, but nothing was found on any of their persons, correct?
Nothing was found on them, and more importantly, no one pointed a gun at a cop in that car besides this kid who got killed. So yes, I feel sorry for your family that they lost a child. I feel sorry for your father and losing a child on that note. But I don't feel sorry, and I will never condone what your father did to quote unquote avenge your, as some people say, assassination. It was not an assassination. This kid just got shot by the police who was doing something stupid and had a gun and pointed it at them.
Yeah.
So one thing about it, 2 things for sure. On this show, we're going to keep it 100. We're going to keep it 100. So, Jessica, let's. I know we are so far off base right now. I am so sorry.
Okay.
I am so sorry. But
no, I think this is how this specific situation and this shooting over the week since our last show, I think this is the way it kind of had to be talked about, is really in depth. It's not something you can kind of just quickly go over. There were a lot of aspects to it. And like you said, which yes, I've heard it, but not very often when they're covering this story about the 3 other passengers.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they're alive and fine. They're in jail, but they're alive and fine. But you got to understand the reason why these kids were not harmed is because they did not pose an immediate threat to the officers of life and death. This kid did. You heard the officer yell out spontaneously. It was not planned. He's got a gun on the right. No one's making this up in a tense situation like that.
Yeah.
These guys are not, there's no Jack the Ripper here. This kid's just out of control. And I hate to say it, but a lot of our youth are just like this. And we've got to get better with it. We've got to get better, or else we'll never get over this. What does that say, Jessica? I can't see.
It says, Wales, God forbid, but I'm sorry for asking this once again, God forbid. Jessica, if you're in this situation, what action will you take? The situation of it being my child, if that's what you're asking, I would probably be so devastated that I wouldn't probably be able to really function properly. But it is, and as a mother, but you also know that your children get to a certain place because of experiences, because of what they've been shown, because of what they've been surrounded by. And I'm not saying all the time the parents are going to be necessarily to blame, because young kids, young adults are always going to want to go against the grain. It's kind of just something that teenagers obviously go through. I think all of us kind of went through it in some way, shape, or fashion, form. The thing is that you don't go that extreme, because once you start playing adult games, adult criminal games, though, that's the penalty, right? So if you are going to do that kind of stuff, you have to be smart enough to know. It's kind of like if you're going to be that kind of country saying, like, if you're going to be stupid, you better be strong. Be able to take what comes and be able to take like those other 3 kids did. They ended up getting arrested. It was up. They couldn't get away. And that's just the situation. None of them had any weapons on them, thankfully. And I bet you they will probably, hopefully, this experience will be so traumatic that they will never do this again. That's what you can only hope. But yeah, as a mother, it's hard. But yes, there's probably times when you're alone thinking about your child and you're grieving, obviously, because it doesn't matter what your child does as a parent. You love them regardless, but it still does not condone the situation. And I would definitely, I would hope I would have the wherewithal to understand that, and still be a loving mother, still obviously grieve, but also understand that my child's actions that got him in this place, it wasn't anybody else's fault.
Yeah. I mean, I would be devastated as a father.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be devastated. You just lost your son. And I'm not saying that I don't feel empathy for the father, but what I'm saying is I would like to think, and I know me, that I would not go ram a car into someone else because of a mistake my kid did and had to pay the ultimate sacrifice for. I'd be furious. I would be upset. I'd be hurt. It would be devastating to me. But at the end of the day, I would tell the citizens, I would tell everybody else that, listen, my child was wrong. This ain't it. I'm hurting right now. Our family's hurting. Give us a moment we got to get over this. But this ain't it. You can't expect any police officer to lay down his life and play with you on gunplay. You can't. We're bearing too many cops. Yeah. You just can't expect that. And your son is playing adult games.
Yeah.
I don't know
if you
what
want
to
be
say.
an adult, you got to take adult responsibility, and it's not always a great responsibility to have to take on.
Yeah. Thank you, Wells. Thank you, Wells. Yeah, it would be hard for anybody. It would be hard for anybody.
Yeah.
In that situation, what would you do? Okay. All right. So what I want to do is something that is I guess we should get to our lesson plan real quick, because I know are we coming up on time, Jessica?
We have about 8 minutes. I think we can probably get through these slides at how you want to do it. I don't think we have to go too in depth with them.
No.
If you wanted to kind of.
Right. I want to just go through the slides. Go on to bring up the slides real quick, please.
Yeah.
Let's get through this here real quick. How to interact with the police. And this was a show that we were going to do before even all of this. Okay. How to interact with the police. Introduction, traffic stops are common. It can be stressful for both the drivers and the officers. Video shows how to interact properly with the officer when you're getting pulled over. Okay, number one, let me do this first one, Jessica, if you can, because I talk about this all the time, and because I've lived this here, right? People go, well, the officers shouldn't have to feel secure. They got the gun. Well, so do they do. You do have to sort of make them feel secure, because do we have scary cops out there? Absolutely, right? Are they quick on the trigger? Absolutely. There's some guys out there like that. Most parts, we have great cops out there, men and women out here banging it down, doing a job. Great cops. Do we have some idiots? Absolutely. I teach my kids these right here, what we're going over for the idiots. Number one thing that's not on here, every time you get pulled over, I say, cut your interior light on. That way, the officer can see everything that's going in inside the vehicle. Number two, keep your hands visible. That's at 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock on the steering wheel, right? I let them know, hey, officer, I am armed. My firearm is on my right side. If you want me to get my wallet, I'm going to have to go over to the right to get it, blah, blah, blah. Is it okay? Sometimes they'll say, nah, never mind. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. We'll get it. Or we'll get your gun off of you or something like that, right? That way there's no mistakes.
Yep.
Number three, So the first one, cut your interior lights on. 2, keep your hands visible. 3, speak clearly and politely. You can catch more bees with honey than with vinegar. That's all I'm gonna say about that. You may have just got a warning, but now you're smart mouth. Now you're gonna be walking away with about an $800 ticket. So just remember that in the back of your mind. Now, if your pockets, if you got it like that, Jessica, and hey, go ahead, do it. Flip your mouth, girl. Go on and do it.
I will tell you, in a situation like this, ma'am, sir,
That's right.
I cannot overemphasize when you use those. I know people think it's, silly, but it will get you so much further.
It will.
To be so much more respectful. Yeah.
Remember, number 4, it's 2:00 in the morning. It's dark on the side of that road. It's not the place to hold court. Avoid sudden movements, right? If you go reaching in the back seat real quick, I mean, come on. What do you think is going to happen, right? So avoid sudden movements. Okay, go on to the next slide. I'll let Jessica take those.
So, okay, this is providing necessary info. Obviously, most people know, gather your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. Answer officers' questions honestly and directly. I think don't kind of make smart remarks in regards to the questions that they're asking. But I did have a question in regards to this, and I wanted to ask you because I know quite a few people this has come up. So when you're being stopped, you're not supposed to make any sudden movements, and you're always supposed to have your hands visible. Totally understand that. But then they say to make sure that you get your driver's license, your registration, and your proof of insurance together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you do that after the police officer has come to your window, or are you doing that as they're walking? Like, when is that an appropriate?
That's a great question. Usually when I see the blue lights coming on, I'm usually getting my wallet out the back, get my driver's license out, get my insurance card and stuff like that. I have it in my left hand on the wheel, just like this right here. That's ideal. If you don't do that, if you wait till the officer gets up to your window, then you simply communicate with him. Hey, officer, my wallet is in my right back pocket, but I have my gun back there. Should I get it or do you want to get it?
Yeah.
Now, in Georgia, a lot of times we always have a sort of a saying that, bad guys ain't really telling you where their gun is and stuff like that. And we're sort of used to people carrying guns here in Georgia, right? A lot of times the officer will say, listen, don't touch your gun. Just get your wallet out the back, blah, 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 and then hand me your driver's license, stuff like that. Some other times the cop will say, hey, let me reach in there, get your firearm. I'll make it safe. I'll put it in the back seat for you. Then we can go on and carry on the conversation. But communication is key, because if you make a sudden movement and he shoots you, the first thing he's going to say is, oh, see, he had a gun. He had a gun. He had a gun.
Yeah.
Right? So communication is key. Oh, okay, go ahead.
So when to ask for.
Go ahead. No. We got a question.
Oh, okay.
That number 3 person have been vigilant because officers have already to frame people, but putting illegal stuff in their bodies to roll them. What? I don't understand that question.
I think this person is possibly saying that, I don't know, a number 3 person, if they're talking about another officer or if they're talking about your passenger, if you possibly have a passenger with you. And yes, I guess there have been situations like this, correct? Right? Where those kinds of things have taken place. But on the norm, on an everyday stop, this is usually not going to be the case. I think there are more officers that are not going to do that than the officers that would.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. Are we talking about on this traffic stop here?
Yeah, I think what they're trying to say is that, no matter how you act, those there's still going to be some of those crooked officers who are still going to want to plant something, for whatever reason.
Well, I'll tell you this here. This is the reason why 99% of the departments have these things called body cameras now,
Mhm.
right? That the officers have to have on when they're conducting these stops. I tell officers all the time, the body camera is not for the civilian, the body camera is for you. Because when you have a guy that says, you planted dope on me, you hit me across the head, something like that, and you know you didn't do this, you can always go back and just simply say, watch my body camera. There's going to always be bad apples in anything that we do, whether you're a flight attendant, whether you're a police officer, a fireman, whatever. We're going to always have bad apples, and we're going to have to deal with those bad apples, you know. So there is no perfect situation for it, but I will tell you 99% of the officers that are out there are just regular Joes and Janes, just trying to do their job, trying to enforce the law, do what the city or county is paying them to do, and go home safely to their families. You may have a bad apple, one or two in there. We're going to deal with them. It's called the legal system. It's called jail. It's called a clink, lock up for the rest of your life, right? So we will address those issues when they come. But for the most part, yeah, you know, we have to be on the lookout for that too. But another thing that we have is people have cell phone cameras and dash cameras on their cars and stuff like that to help prevent about that. If you're that paranoid about it, then have your dash cam on so you have video proof yourself also. There's nothing illegal about that at all. Record from your phone. Audibly, if you can't set up the video, hit record where you're just getting audio recording of the situation or whatever. There's a lot of things you can do. Okay. How to interact with the police. I want to ask for clarification. Oh, by the way, on the last slide, where it says, gather your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance, do you have to give the police officer your driver's license and proof of insurance when you're stopped?
Yes.
Absolutely, you do. Absolutely, you do. It's the law. Okay. If you feel uncomfortable or unsure about a question, ask the question, ask for clarification, understanding, to understand the contents of the question and to avoid misunderstandings, right? This is how people get hurt with misunderstandings, right? So make sure that you control yourself, as nervous as you may be, take a deep breath, and it's all right. I've even had people tell me, officer, I am so nervous. And a lot of times, you know what I'll do? I'll greet them with a smile and say, hey, listen, buddy, you don't got nothing to be nervous about, okay? Nothing to be nervous about. You're not going to hurt me. I'm not going to hurt you. We're going to get through this thing together. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to walk away here probably with a ticket. That's it, right? But for the most part going on, everything's cool. You're good. So it's up to the officer enough to have enough common sense also to relax the situation also. We have a lot of new officers and they don't know that yet, which could be problematic also. Okay. Understanding your rights. I tell my kids this. I tell everybody this. First off, you have a right to remain silent. In other words, you have a right to shut up. Use it. I say use it. Shut up. If you don't have nothing nice to say, here you go, officer, and give them the stuff, follow his directions, and we'll see you in court. You have a right to remain silent. You have a right to request. Well, hold on. This slide isn't right. You don't.
No, I did. Okay, so you have a right to request a lawyer, but, and I know it was because you had you were going to explain that, but don't go into a whole spiel and then say you request a lawyer, right?
Right. So let me correct that. So on the side of a road on the traffic stop, you do not have a right to an attorney. You have a right to an attorney in court. You have a right to an attorney for your first phone call at the jail and any accusatory questioning that is being asked of you. That's why they say you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. You have a right not to answer questions without an attorney present. Now, what that means is any accusatory questioning that I'm asking you, you have a right not to answer. Excuse me, driver. Why is there a dead body in your back seat? You could turn around at me and honestly say, oh, sure, I plead the fifth, right? And there's nothing absolutely positively I could do about it besides arrest you for suspicion of murder and blah, 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 right? So, but if you're talking about a traffic situation and he says, let me have your driver's license, and you go, that's not what we're talking about. You do not have a right not to give up any information. Now, you don't have to necessarily talk to me, but you have to comply to what I'm doing. Because I've had people who've had a crappy attitude with me, and I'll walk up, hey, how you doing? I need your driver's license, registration, blah, 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 blah. And they don't say a word to me, but they're complying with what I'm saying. Here, okay, ma'am, is this your, and they don't say anything. Fine, I don't care. I can get the rest of that off your driver's license. If I can issue you a citation and go on about my day and you not say a word to me and I not say a word to you, I'm fine with that too. So you do
doesn't
not
have to be pleasant.
right. And getting a citation is not pleasant, but you do not have a right to say, I'm not answering any questions until my attorney gets here on the side of the road. First off, it might be 4 o'clock in the morning. We'll be there all day. Come on now, that's ridiculous. No. Okay, next slide.
And I think people also have to remember that whether you believe you've been pulled over for something correctly or not, driving is a privilege in this country. It is not a right. And so there are some questions and some things you have to prove. Yeah,
that's right. And well, that's what they make court for. I tell people all the time, on the side of the road is not the time to have court.
No.
If he or she's going to give you a citation, take your citation and go on home and then argue it out in court. Then that's the time you hire an attorney and y'all put your case together to present in front of a judge. That's the way it goes. Know your state laws. Regarding consent to search and recording police. I know they have some new laws that are supposed to be coming out to where you have to be a certain number of feet away from a cop to be able to record them for safety purposes and all that other stuff. I don't think those have passed yet, but I know there's been some talk legislation about that. I want to talk about consent to search real quick. So there's a saying in the law that the eyes cannot commit a trespass. Okay, have you heard of that, Jessica?
I have not.
Okay, the eyes cannot commit a trespass. So that means if I stop you and I see a baggie of cocaine laying in your cup holder, I don't need a warrant. I don't need your consent. I don't need anything like that. It's an open sight right there. The eyes cannot commit a trespass, right?
If it's in plain sight.
If it's in plain sight, right? Now, I'm not talking about I'm going through your trunk and lifting up your hood, looking under your motor block and, oh, cocaine, look. No. It has to be in plain sight. The eyes cannot commit a trespass. I've stopped guys and they've had a marijuana joint in there behind their ear and forgot to take it out. And I go, hey, you smoke weed? No, officer, don't smoke weed at all. Oh, really? What's that behind your ear? Right? The eyes cannot commit a trespass. So when you're talking about if an officer says, I would like to have your consent to search your vehicle, can you say yes or no?
You can say, I do not give you consent, right? You can not give consent, but then I don't know further than that what is allowed or what is not allowed.
You can always say, I don't give you consent, officer. And the officer can always say, okay, fine, no problem. Then if he's thinking that it's drugs involved, then he can call the K9 unit over. The K9 unit can sniff around your car. If the dog hits on your car, then that establishes probable cause for them to search your car.
And is that only if the officer feels suspicion of drugs, or has this officer already seen something?
That's if he suspect drugs in the car. He's like, hey, you want to get out of here quick? Let me just search your car and be done with it. You're like, no, I don't think so. And he can go, okay, fine. So now the rule to that is that if I can get a K9 unit there within a reasonable time frame, So that means that to me, what I usually do is if I can get a K-9 unit there, probably within 20 minutes to 25 minutes is usually what it takes you to bang out a citation. Especially if you're issuing several of them and running them through GCIC checks and all that other good stuff. If I can get a K-9 unit there to run around your car, which is perfectly legal, during that time, fine. Anything outside of that would be an unordinary amount of time blockage and could be considered an arrest, an illegal arrest, actually. So you got to be very careful about that, officers, also. So yes, we want to get the drugs off the streets. And if you have PC, probable cause to think that there are drugs in this car, there's ways that the officer can get to that. But there are legal ways that we have to do it too. So
and during that time, if you're not technically under arrest, are you under what they call detainment?
Technically, every traffic stop is an arrest.
Okay.
And we're letting you go on a bond, a signature bond that you sign your citation with.
Okay.
So in Georgia, everything is an arrestable offense under the 40, pretty much under the 40 code section. So when I stop you, technically, if you don't stop, I'm going to chase you down and arrest you, right? The same thing is if I go to your house on a domestic and your wife's got a black eye and you bail out the back door and I chase you down and arrest you. So every time that you are stopped and you are not free to go, you're technically being arrested. When I issue you the citation, that citation says you violated this law, you were technically arrested, but we are letting you go for your day in court. And so you don't have to go down there and get fingerprinted and bonded out. You're going to show up to court here. That's the reason why when you don't sign your citations, where do you go? To jail.
Yeah. And now, is that only in Georgia or is that nationally?
I know that's in Georgia and Ohio.
Okay. So
I don't know about
depends on
anywhere else. Right.
Okay.
But so that is your signature bond to say that, hey, I acknowledge, I'm not saying that you're guilty of the ticket. I'm saying that you will come to court on this ticket and answer the accused charges on this citation. If you don't sign the citation, then I have no choice than to arrest you, take you down, make you post a bond, get your signature, get your picture, all that other good stuff. So if you don't want to go through that, so as a supervisor, the first thing I say when I got a situation like that, the guy goes, I'm not signing that ticket. I say, okay, all right, listen really, really, really carefully to me, because the next words that come out of your mouth is going to determine whether you go to jail or whether you go home. Okay, let me explain, and then I'll explain it to them. And then most of the time, and then I'll end by saying, do you want to sign the citation or not? And most of the time, I have not had one person yet that says, no, I'm not going to sign it. If that does happen, then you take them to jail. Most people say, give it to me, and they'll sign. They're pissed, but they'll sign it.
Yeah.
Okay. Understand how laws may apply during a traffic stop. Listen, when you're talking about search procedures and stuff like that, does an officer have a right to pull you out of the car? Okay. Yes, they can request for you to get out of the car. They can request for you to get out of the car. If they have probable cause that they believe A, B, C, D, E, F, G, they can request that you exit the vehicle. Like Jessica said, in the state of Georgia, driving is a privilege from the law standpoint. Can they search your car? With probable cause, they may be able to search your car, right? Within as long as it's not an unordinary amount of time span that's gone by. So when you listen to these, what we call street lawyers and stuff like that, oh, you don't have to stay there, you just run from them and all this other stuff. All thing you're going to do is get pitted in a whole bunch of other trouble, and where you would have just paid a $300 fine, now you're up into the thousands because you got running from the police, running this red light times 10 red lights you ran, the damage on a police car, the damage to the other person's car. Now this person's in the hospital. You're going to just compound your charges. So understand traffic laws before you go getting yourself into trouble and stuff like that.
It has been a minute.
Huh?
It has been a minute.
What?
Muffy Blitz. Sorry for interrupting, but it's been a while since you have done the question and answer stuff.
It has been a minute since we did the question and answer things. And Jessica, what they're talking about is the screen behind you. What they're talking about is we had a question and answer that we used to do on the show, which we'll see about bringing that back, because that was a very fun part of the show, to be able to do the question and answers and let you guys answer them and stuff like that, and to give out the little prizes and t-shirts and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you so much. We're going to get back to that. We will get back to that. Yeah, it was really cool. Okay, be respectful even if you feel you were unfairly stopped and treated. On the street is not the time to be arguing this stuff. I tell my kids all the time, I need you alive. All right.
And you have to, and in life, you just have to pick and choose your battles. And I'm sorry, but that's not one battle I really care to spend a lot of time. Nobody wants to get pulled over, but I don't want to spend any more time there than I have to.
That's right. Maintain respect. If you feel you were treated unfairly, you may file a formal complaint through the proper channels and procedures. That's always important. Importance of your behavior can significantly impact the outcome of the traffic stop. Remaining calm, respectful, cooperative can lead to a more positive resolution. It may not mean that you ain't getting no citation, but it could mean that you're simply not going to jail, or maybe the officer is teeter-totting to take you to jail or not for registration violations, for expired tags, stuff like that, driving with no license and stuff like that, right? Some of the things, understand something that we have no choice. The law says you drive without insurance in the state of Georgia, the car will be removed from the roadway, period. It will be removed from the roadway. A lot of times what I've done is I've said, hey, I tell you what, we're going to follow the law, but I'm going to give you a loophole. All right. Because you're cool. I don't want to impound your car because I know you got to get up in the morning to go to work. You need to get insurance right now on the side of the road. And then if they have the funds to go ahead and get the insurance on the side of the road, then we've satisfied the law. We don't have to impound their car, and then everybody's happy. You still may get a citation for driving for no insurance, because at the time when I stopped you, you did not have insurance, but at least you don't have all the other pressures of having to go get your car out of tow, not being able to make it to work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's all types of things that can happen when you're being nice. That's all I've got to say. So,
it is a lot. You gain a lot more by being respectful and nice, even if you really don't want to be. Nobody's saying you actually have to feel that way. Right. We can all act a little, right? Fake it till you make it.
That's right. That's right.
And so we can all do that, I think. And we all have bad days. There's sometimes when people have little attitudes here and there, you're a little snarky. But I think for the most part, police officers appreciate you just kind of being very respectful to them, understanding that they're pulling you over, they're doing their job. And you can be on your way as soon as, cooperation, understanding of what the stop was for, and you move on with your life.
Well, Jessica, it looks like we have made it through another episode.
Yeah. And not too bad. Overtime. We're a little overtime, yes, but
we're a little overtime. But I knew we were going to be overtime on this one.
Yeah.
Because this is such an important dramatic situation, and I just knew we had to dive into it this week. This is the epitome of what this show is about. People calling, asking questions, and us giving an honest answer to those questions and a professional answer as much as we can to those questions. It may not be what you want to hear, but it needs to be the truth, and it needs to be solid, and we need to stand on it. Period, point blank.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this to you guys out there that is watching and that's affected, because everybody's affected by this thing. Life is hard. Life is hard. And we don't always make the right decisions. But by God, we've got to teach our children to be responsible for their actions. We can't coddle them when they do wrong, because the ultimate thing that you're doing, you may just be burying your own son or your daughter by coddling their actions when they're doing stuff wrong. Sometimes love hurts, and sometimes you gotta love with strength and vigor.
Yep.
But when you're raising kids, there's no guide to this as parents, so we do the best that we can, but it's hard sometimes. But I'll tell you this here, until next week, until next Thursday, I want you guys to love on each other, take care of yourself, respect your police, respect your citizens, and the people that we are sworn to uphold and protect, and to protect the Constitution of the United States, and do what's right when no one's looking. You don't have to worry about it. My name is Daryl Triplett. I'm your host at the Ask a Cop Show.
I'm Jessica Rivera. We'll see you next week with another topic that will be just as interesting, and we hope you all have a great week. We'll see you then.
We'll see you then, people. God bless you. We love you from the Ask a Cop Show here. Bye. Hello, everyone. It's Daryl Triplett with All Cops Ain't Bad. I just want to take a moment to thank each of you for your continued support. Whether you're tuning into our podcast or attending our events or making a donation, you are making a difference in the mission of All Cops Ain't Bad. So thank you for being with us. Let's keep pushing forward, bridging people together, and continuing this important work. Together, we're stronger.